Center for Human Rights and Accountability Network, CRAN. My name is Etekamba Franklin Isom.
Good afternoon. My name is Comrade Dayo Nathaniel, Coordinator, Education Support Associate. Thank you.
My name is Obong Comrade Ifot. I am the Chief Executive Officer of People's Right to Life Development and also National Chairman of Equity and Transparency Development Network in Abuja.
My name is Dr. Victor David, the Executive Director, Vital Partners for Development. My name is Gideon Hussein, Comrade Gideon Hussein, Executive Director, Civil Service, Civil Society Network and Development. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Comrade St. Johnson. I'm the Deputy State Secretary, Center for Human Rights and Accountability Network, CRAN. Thank you.
My name is Comrade Meldo, Executive Director, Youth and Girls Child Education Foundation in Nigeria. Thank you.
Press conference held by a coalition of civil society organizations in Nigeria on Monday, dated October 2023 in New Akwa Ibom State on the appointment of Mr. Etekamba Umoren as the resident electoral commissioner of the National Independent National Electoral Commission, Inec, by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Arising from the Congress of Coalition of Civil Society Organizations in Nigeria on Saturday, 28 October 2023 in Uyo, the Akwa Ibom State, wherein issues of state and national importance were reviewed, including the appointment of Mr. Etekamba Umoren as the resident electoral commissioner of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Whereas the coalition of civil society organizations in Nigeria wishes to commend Mr. President for ensuring the equitable distribution of appointment across the 36 states of the Federation. We wish to make the following positions. 1. That Section 156, subsection 1A and 10th Schedule, Part 1, Item F, Paragraph 14, 1 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended, outrightly disqualifies any person in partisan politics and card-carrying member of a political party from being appointed into INEC as electoral umpire. 2. That Mr. Etekamba Umoren is a card-carrying member of the ruling All Progressives Congress (APC) in Akwa Ibom State, who had also campaigned for the APC during the elections. 3. That the appointment of Mr. Etekamba Umoren will further undermine citizens' confidence in INEC and increase mistrust in the Commission. 4. That the appointment will also jeopardize the trust of other political parties in the Commission. 5. That as civil society organizations that were part of the struggle for the return to democracy in Nigeria in 1999, we will not allow any undemocratic action that will truncate our hard-earned democracy, which some of our colleagues unfortunately paid the supreme price with their lives. 6. That We will continue to ensure sustainability of Nigeria's journey towards democratic consolidation by promoting and protecting the electoral integrity. Seven, that we collectively demand that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, in the public interest, should withdraw the appointment of Mr. Etekamba Umoren as a resident electoral commissioner in Inec from Akwa Ibom State. 8. That Mr. Etekamba Umoren does not meet the constitutional requirements of being non-partisan as defined by Section 156 sub 1A of the Constitution of Nigeria to be appointed as INEC Commissioner. 9. That Mr. Etekamba Umoren is not only a card-carrying member of the ruling All Progressives Congress, but an active politician who had held several political appointments, including as the Secretary to the government of Akwa Ibom State under the People's Democratic Party (PDP) before he defected to the ruling APC in Akwa Ibom State on the 8th of August 2018. 10. That his last political appointment was the Chief of Staff to Senator Godswill Akpabio when Senator Akpabio was the Minister of Niger Delta Affairs Ministry. 11. That the appointment has already triggered outrage amongst Nigerians with many individuals and groups calling for the withdrawal of the appointment by President Tinubu because Mr. Umoren had openly declared his membership of the ruling All Progressives Congress (APC). 12. That Etekamba Umoren had also campaigned for the ruling All Progressive Congress (APC) during the general elections in Akwa Ibom State. 18. That the coalition of civil society organizations in Nigeria is of the view that if the appointment of Mr. Etekamba Umoren is not withdrawn by Mr. President, it will mar future elections in the country and cast doubt of independence of INEC. 14. That Mr. Etekamba Umoren, being a card-carrying member of the APC, is not qualified for such appointment in line with relevant provisions of the 1999 Constitution of Nigeria. 15. That the coalition of civil society organizations in Nigeria demands the immediate withdrawal of Mr. Etekamba Umoren's appointment as a resident electoral commissioner of INEC from Akwa Ibom State by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu as a matter of urgency. This press conference is addressed by 1. Center for Human Rights and Accountability Network (CRAN), led by Otuegon Franklin Isom as director. 2. People's Right to Life Development Foundation, led by Comrade Ifod N. Ifod as Chief Executive Director. 3. Vital Partners for Development, led by Comrade Dr. Victor David, Executive Director. 4. Education Support Associates, led by Comrade Ndayo Nathaniel as Coordinator. 5. Civil Society Network for Development, led by Comrade Gideon Hussein, Executive Director. And 6. Youth and Girl Child Education Network, led by Comrade Ime Udon, Executive Director. Dated Monday, the 30th day of October 2023. You're welcome. Dear member of the press, you will recall that last week, Mr. President through the office of the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media, announced the appointment of our illustrious son, our brother, our statesman, Mr. Etekamba Umoren, as the Inec Electoral Commissioner from Akwa Ibom State. Our position is not personal. We do not have anything against our brother, a statesman, a man who has contributed so much for the development of Akwa Ibom State. But what we are simply saying is that his appointment is ultra virus, is unconstitutional, and does not meet the requirement of the law. Now, when I think a year ago, Mr. President, former President Muhammadu Buhari appointed Ms. Loretta Onoche to the same Inec, it was National Commissioner, wherein the CSOs protested against the appointment. Not because we hate her face, but because going by Section 156(1)(a) of our Constitution, that particular appointment needs someone who is non-partisan, someone who is neutral, because you are appointing a referee that is going to referee a game or a match of all parties. And so when you get someone who is already partisan, by posture, by actions, and by behavior, it does not give any neutrality. Anybody who should be in INEC must have that disposition of neutrality, must be able to show by actions and deeds that he or she will lay above board. Otherwise, you will end up stifling the opposition. What Mr. President's appointment of Mr. Etekamba Umoren will achieve, if it stands, is to make the voters and the other political parties to lose confidence in INEC. And I can tell you that it will stifle opposition. Any state he is posted to will definitely bring, issue of trust revolving around that appointment. And so what we are saying is that Mr. President, who is a Democrat, Mr. President who understands what we are saying, whose cardinal focus is to uphold rule of law and our Constitution, should immediately, as a matter of public importance, revise the appointment, withdraw the appointment, give him another appointment. But for that INEC, someone who is neutral should be appointed. This is what we are simply saying. To cut the long story short. You're welcome.
Conditions are in order. I can also recall that Etekamba Umoren was a delegate of APC from Akwa Ibom State during Tinubu's presidential primaries at Igwe Square. And I want to ask you, suppose this your call or a reversal of this appointment fails, because Nigeria is a country that anything can happen, what will you do as a civil society organization?
We have answered to that question before you arrived. If the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria neglects our clarion call, let it be on record today that, number one, he has technically altered the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria in a dictatorial and undemocratic manner. Number two, he has openly announced his plans to rig the forthcoming election in Bayelsa, Imo, Kogi, and the general election in 2027 with impunity and without punitive consequences from the electorate. Number three, he has also technically and officially enthroned nepotism, a system he is at liberty to appoint only his kinsmen, which are political men around him, to hold positions in Nigeria. So as a civil society, we are watchdogs to the society. If we refuse to answer to this clarion call, we will continue to make advocacy. Today we are here, tomorrow we might be in another venue. The advocacy will continue until he listens to us. We have done it before. He listens to us. Buhari listens to us. He will also listen to us. Thank you.
What if before the appointment of Etekamba Umoren as INEC Rec, what if he had resigned from that position? That is, what if he had resigned from the any political party that we thought he belonged to? That is number one question. Number two, allegedly, a certain Mr. Kowa was appointed when he was a card-carrying member of the People's Democratic Party into the same position. And, some concerns were raised, but he retained that position, nothing happened. And we also hear that here in Akwa Ibom State, the person who is in charge of Akwa Ibom Independent National Electoral Commission, Akise, was a card-carrying member of a certain political party. So if those allegations are anything to come by, how are we going to be able to make this one work when others have failed?
And good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The press. I think the issue that the last speaker has raised is quite germane at this particular point in time. But as civil society groups, I think it is in our own character to look seriously before jump. We are yet to understand or to know that Mr. Etekamba Umoren has resigned officially party. Even if that is so, for you, for Mr. President to appoint somebody who has a very special interest and concern for a particular political party into the office of the Independent National Electoral as a commissioner casts a very serious doubt on the integrity of one, the government, and two, Inec in itself. It would be well, ascertain that Mr. Umoren has resigned from APC as we have, alleged now. But putting him in that position would definitely cast very serious doubt, in the minds of Nigerians, minds of the electorate, and in the minds of members of the other political parties, because he will be assigned the role of, supervising an election in any state, in the federation. Don't also forget that the president, knows, as far as the Constitution is concerned, that any person, that could be so appointed will definitely, be biased during the time of elections. And we could recall, a lot of issues that have been arising, regarding electoral issues, not just in a
disconnected.
So I think what Mr. President should do immediately is to appoint somebody else into that office. We are not saying that Mr. Umoren does not deserve of any appointments into the federal into the federal government service, not by appointment or employment. He is our own. He is one of our own. He's very hardworking. He's very, lustrous, and he's a patriotic tribal son. And so, because we are watchdogs, we understand what it took us to enthrone democracy in Nigeria. We can, recount the experiences that we had to pass through before we could push the military out of governance in Nigeria, before 1999. I can also tell you the pains that members of the civil society groups and the media of those days. I'm not saying that the media these days are not working, but I can mention names of the people some who have paid dearly, with their lives to enthrone democracy in Nigeria. And so, for democracy not to be truncated in Nigeria, I think the rules of the game should be followed, especially when it comes to appointments of people whose responsibility will be to oversee, elections time after time in this country until their appointment, comes to expiration or whatsoever. So, as far as we are concerned, I think there is enough evidence that Mr. Umoren is a card-carrying member of All Progressive Congress, APC, in Nigeria today.
Before the next question, I want to add that someone has resigned because of appointment being given to him. Is not enough to douse tension, to remove doubt, to remove loyalty. You have been a politician actively. You have also been partisan for, say, 15 years. And because you have an appointment, either 1 or 2 months to the appointment, you resigned. I just said in the press text that the last appointment, political appointment, Mr. Etekamba Umoren held was as the chief of staff to Senator Godswill Akpabio when Akpabio was the Minister of Niger Delta Affairs. Akpabio just left office to contest for the senatorial or the presidential elections, and that was about a few months ago. So when did he resign? Given that he has resigned, is that enough to take away the issue of him not being qualified by the Constitution of Nigeria? Why did we protest and resisted the appointment of Loretta Onoche? It was because she was an aide to Mr. President, media aide, and her posture, her actions, her outburst and attitude and campaign in her state, Delta State, was all about the party APC. And so if we today choose to look the other way around and say, because Mr. Etekamba Umoren is from, for instance, Akwa Ibom State, we should overlook it. That will not be fair to Loretta Onoche, will not be fair to the Constitution, will not be fair to democracy, which we fought for. What we are simply saying is that the law has been breached by his appointment. It does not mean that he cannot be given another appointment. The appointment is a liberty to give him another assignment. But when you want to assign a referee to a match which Mr. President will be in for, and the President appoints a referee that is his party member, whether the President has resigned a few days or so is immaterial. The President will not be fair with the other party members. And come to think of it, this is not the kind of things we expect from Mr. President. He is a Democrat. He knows or ought to know that appointing someone who has held political offices in a political party will not make the person neutral to become, unbiased to the other candidates. And so, of course, Mr. Umoren was a national delegate of the APC during the elections of the APC's convention. So, if today we allow him, because he has resigned, given that he has resigned, this is not the basis here, and then we say let him stay there. Somebody could be marked out for the office of the Inec chairman, and the person is told to resign from his party and become the Inec chairman. You saw what happened in the last election. The country was almost being brought down because of the actions of Inec. Whether Inec was fair or not is immaterial. The comments that were made by Inec before elections and during election and after elections made Nigeria seemingly lose confidence in the commission. So what we are saying is that whether he has resigned, which is what we are saying, is immaterial. He has held political appointment in PDP and APC, and he is partisan. Up until the last day, he was a party member, the APC, where Mr. President, is the leader. So the president should not allow us to carry placards and begin to march around Abuja and demand for fairness. What we are shouting today, I can tell you, if it is not changed, that the other parties might likely withdraw from the forthcoming elections in Bayelsa State, in Imo State, and in other states. We need to allow for fairness. for God's sake, because at the end of the day, the person you are appointing will sit down and correlate the result and make announcements, make returns. And the law says, whatever returns the INEC makes is the law. If you want to fault it, go to court. So let's not go to the point where other parties will begin to come out and carry placard and ask that this man should go, this one should not go because he's a party man or not. And again, you recall a case of a sitting justice in the Court of Appeal when the matter was brought before her, and the other party said this person, this justice, is not going to be fair to all parties because the husband belonged to a political party, the APC. Then she should recuse herself. Pressure mounted on her. She recused herself from the matter. Then you could hear what the husband said at the end of the ninth Senate. The husband, being a senator, stood up and said, told Nigerians how he was able to use the wife, in favor of his party men. So what are we saying? The person we are talking about here will definitely become a judge in his own matter, and that will not be fair to the other parties.
Mr. Etekamba Umoren, with the Senate President. Are you suspecting that the Senate President may have plans to use him for any sinister activity as it has to do with election in the future?
The Senate President, distinguished Senator Goswell Obodobabio, our distinguished son, illustrious one, who has done so much for Akwa Ibom through the uncommon transformation, is not going to use anybody to fight any political contest. I can assure you of that. What we are simply saying is a matter of law, point of law, that anybody can be appointed, but not someone that is a card-carrying member. Why we brought in the name of the President is because this person in question held a position as Chief of Staff to the Senate President. That's just that. The President will not use anybody to fight any political election or do anything. He on his own is a politician. He knows how to go about his contest. But for this appointment, it is unconstitutional, it is ultra-virus, it is unlawful. It has breached our ground norms, which is the Constitution, Section 156, Chapter 1A of our Constitution. And it has nothing to do with anybody. If it were to be another person appointed who is a non-party person, we will come out here to applaud the person. After all, whoever is appointed from anywhere has to go for screening. That's the president will still sit and clear the person. So if you are trying to allude that because the Senate President, he sits there as a clear house to clear every appointment. So anybody who clears, he can as well, if there's what you're trying to allege, can as well do that. But he is not the man that can do that. The man that is fair is a pan-Nigerian that believes in democracy. And I assure you of that.
To that particular, question that has been raised, I want to say very honestly that the media should not, interpret or misinterpret what we are saying. We have not mentioned the Senate President in this matter, and we will not, because whatever is happening is none of our business. What we are concerned, what we are talking about is that for somebody to be an umpire in Inec, he should not be a member of a political party, which is confirmed by the Constitution. That is what the Constitution of Nigeria says. So the media, please don't misconstrue what we are saying now to mean that the Senate President has a hand in that matter. If it was part of our argument, I think we would have included that in this document. And I'm very happy that we have this document. That if you now go and say, the civil society coalition in Nigeria, is alleging that the Senate President, in the presence of the distinguished, Senator Goswell Obodobabio, has influenced the appointment of this or that person, or Mr. Etekamba Umoren in particular, that is purely your own cup of tea. It is purely your business. What we are saying is a constitutional matter, that somebody who is a member of a certain political party should not be appointed into the office of a rec of INEC rec in any of the states. We are very fair, we are very sincere in what we are saying, because we know this could truncate the process, the democratic process, come other times. And don't also forget, as it has been mentioned, elections are coming up in some states as we speak. So I think a good example has to be set, so that the system, the Nigerian system, will not draw us back to those old days.
Gentlemen of the press, the CSOs in Nigeria are watchdog of democracy. We don't believe in carrying arms or resorting to self-help. All we are simply saying, we are drawing attention of Mr. President, which we believe did not know that his appointee did not meet the issue raised in the Constitution. And I can assure you that Mr. President, who is a Democrat, will not forward his name to the Senate, take it to the bank. President Tinubu will not forward the name of Etekamba Umoren to the Senate. The reason is that this press statement we are doing, we forward it to him, his Attorney General will see it, and then they will advise Mr. President properly. President is someone who believes in the rule of law. He believes in the ethics and ethos of democracy, and he knows the implication of sending the name of someone who is perceived, alleged to be a carrying member of a political party to the Senate to screen him and clear him for him to be sworn in as INEC rep. He knows the implication to democracy, because the president was in the trenches with us. He knows how we struggled in the dark days of the military era, fighting for democracy. So he knows that if anything anti-democratic is done, it could lead to truncating our hard-earned democracy, and our effort would have been in vain. So I can assure all of us that Mr. President will not forward the name of this very appointee to the Senate. And if he does, I can assure you that the Senate will not clear him. It happened in the days of Loretta Onuche. She was forwarded to the moment she was appointed, just like this. We came up and then we raised the attention of the president to it and drew his attention to this very section of the laws, forwarding the name to the Senate. We told the Senate this particular appointee does not meet the law as enshrined in section 156, section 1A of our Constitution, that the person in question is a party member, the person in question is an appointee of the president before being sent to the Senate. And the Senate, during the screening session, rejected her. And she was not cleared, and she did not become the INEC commissioner in the last election. So that's something may likely play out if Mr. President refuses to listen to this voice of reasoning. And President will not want to be embarrassed by us carrying placards, by us going to the Senate and beginning to carry placard and call out the Senate and call out the President for this particular action, which is ultra-violent. So very simple. His name cannot and will be sent to the Senate because it doesn't meet the laws of the land.
Please let me also add to that, to the response that Wilcom has profiled. The person who is asking the question had asked that question before. Perhaps he has something in mind, or maybe he could be aware that even if the civil society is protesting, that the powers that be, the authorities, would go ahead and then confirm the nomination of the man that we are talking about. But let me also assure you, civil society, are not, civil society don't always come out to speak on issues, that they cannot follow to a conclusive, end. And the voice of the civil society is the voice of the people. We are speaking on behalf of those whose voices could not be heard. Those, who don't have the opportunities that you have, the opportunities that we have. But as watchdog of democracy in Nigeria, I think it behoves on us. It is our responsibility, the responsibility of the civil society movement in this country, to ensure that anything that is undemocratic, especially as the one that we are talking about now, should not be allowed, to exist, so that subsequent governments, subsequent administrations would not have something to cite to say, yes, during the time of the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, so-so time, so-so person, from Akwa Ibom State was elected, who was a card-carrying member of a particular political party, to be, a resident electoral commissioner in Nigeria. And even when the civil society movement, rose up to speak against it, Mr. President went ahead and then, and made that appointment. I think it would leave a very, very bad, wrong precedent. And therefore, we are convinced, Mr. President, knows what we are saying. And you see, let us go back to the first point that we raised. The number one issue that we are saying, that we have raised here, that Section 156 1A and 4th Schedule, Part 1, Item F, Paragraph 14, 1 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended, outrightly disqualifies any person in partisan politics and card-carrying member of a political party from being appointed into Inec as an electoral umpire. This is the basis of our, contention now. This is the basis, of our reasoning now. Otherwise, civil society, are not, people who don't have what to do. We bring out these things, to government. We make government to understand that certain things in society does not go down well with the people. It is the civil society that will draw the attention of government, at any time government, seems to move as they are going now. So I want to believe that Mr. President, his advisors on other members of the, of United States School, the executive, and the other sections of the people in governance in Nigeria, will even thank the civil society groups for bringing this information, to the federal government. And I am believing that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who is a Democrat, we all know his pedigree. We know what the contributions that he made during, the time of the military in this country, that Nigeria should be returned to democracy. And then he happens to, to have been elected as the democratically, to stand. He is today a democratically elected president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I don't see President Tinubu as going astray, outside the ambit of the constitutional provision. Thank you.
Any other question?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, gentlemen of the praise. Like we've spoken for so long a time, some of you are tired already, because the message is simple, and anybody seated here, we believe we are all lettered, is as simple as A, B, C. We have a wrong perception already. After the Presidential Election Tribunal, the Supreme Court just gave a verdict that President Ahmed Tinubu has been confirmed as the president. If you ask Nigerians, majority of Nigerians, you can feel their perception. So we don't need to allow that to continue. We need to correct that perception. This is the way to go about it. Thank you. Gentlemen of the press, we are moving forward, and then there's no need for us to draw ourselves backward. Like what my brother in Comfort FM said, his question actually. You know, if we are here and then we want to repeat the mistake of the past, it means that we are not making progress. If there was a time in Nigeria that we permitted a card-carrying member to be appointed into this kind of this sensitive position, then are we trying to tell ourselves that we have to continue that way? No, because we have passed through so many pillars in the process of our democracy now. And then this tunnel is because wrong things and wrong paradigms were set. And then if the government that we have, and we believe that this government is a future for us, we believe that the government should be able to set right paradigm. And then we believe that this present government will do that. That this present government under a senator, the president and senator Tinubu cannot go back and repeat their past mistakes. That is the way of making progress.
Gentlemen of the press, we have come to the end of this session.